Hey there, YouTube. This is... well, it's hard to outright explain. I guess this is my attempt at comedy. I've always wanted to do stand-up, but there's two reasons why that's just completely impossible. First off, I'm already sitting down. Now, I know that just seems like a bad pun and nobody likes those, but it's actually not. It's something deeper. It's psychological. That's right. And I'll tell you what it means. A lack of dedication. That's right. That itself just shows that I have no dedication towards this desire of mine, so I don't know how the hell I'd ever actually manage. The second reason is, I'm not always a really composed guy. Beethoven was one composed man. Hell, he was deaf and he managed to put out better music than half the artists we have today. But that's really not what I was getting at, and before anyone asks, yes, that was a bad pun. Nothing psychological there, I'm afraid. I'm not always prepared, and under pressure, things can get pretty ugly. What I'm talking about are hecklers. I just don't know how I would handle them, you know? There's always just one guy that can do it, and he can do it right. He can tear you down and destroy you with one little thing. Seriously, he's everywhere, all the time. You could be Jesus, and right in the middle of turning water into wine, he'd just start. Ballsy little bastard, right there with Jesus. Hey! Hey! That doesn't even make any sense! What are you doing? You fucking suck! You call that wine? This tastes like 4-week-old camel piss. This is awful. Why are you alive again? Does anybody here know? 'Cause I sure don't. Hey, anybody got some nails? And it's in that moment that there is a tear. Now this tear doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't even have to be visible. This tear could exist only on the inside. Only in one's spirit, if you will. Now this tear comes from pain, and immediately after it's out, it turns into anger, seeking vengeance. This tear is now a terrorist. It is a tiny suicide bomber ready to kill that guy, his family, his puppy, and everything he knows and loves. The problem is, this tear coming from pain and quickly becoming a terrorist is ignorant. He doesn't actually have any real ammunition, so here he is all ready to explode, and he's just standing there like, trying to basically cause himself to have an aneurysm in hopes that it will destroy his target. However, it's not going to. This is where my problem would come in. Aside from the complete lack of dedication, my little terrorist would get me into trouble. I'd insult the guy and then boom, the world thinks I'm a racist. The thing is, I don't want people to think that. Reason being, I'm not. Now here's the thing. People are ignorant and assume that using the term, here's the bombshell, nigger, makes me a racist, and suddenly I hate black people. That's not true. That's not true at all. Racism is an ugly, disgusting, and hateful thing, and I want no part of it. Does that mean I don't enjoy some good old-fashioned racial humor? No, not at all. I love those jokes, to be honest. Haha, those Jews sure do love their money. And no, what would I call the Flintstones if they were black? Nigger, in my honest opinion, or at least in my usage, is an insult. Just like asshole, dick face, thunder cunt, cock-twirling ass Viking, and poopy head are. And furthermore, I will never refer to anyone of African descent as a nigger. I avoid it. A friend of mine, Trey, one of the very few black kids at our school, came through the hall and he saw me. And as one of those greetings of sorts to sort of get your attention, he said, "Yeah, bitch!" And I, without thought, turned and shouted back, "Trey's a never mind," because I realized what I was doing, and that's just awful. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, really. I'm usually just out to piss them off. No harm in that, except to myself, potentially. We all got our own problems and our own things to deal with, and I'm sure if you're black, you got a hell of a lot more to deal with because of fucking ignorant hillbillies who have yet to begin their climb on the stepladder of humanity. Anyway, my friend Trey, great guy. I love the guy. But racial stereotypes are his fault. I mean it. He'd come into class occasionally, he'd sit down at his desk, and out of his pocket he'd pull a can of grape soda and slam it on the top of his desk. He'd turn around, look at me, and with a big ol' smile on his face, one that a kid would have on Christmas morning if he had some damn fine presents under the tree, and he'd just say, "Man, I can't wait till lunch!" I was like, oh. Okay. Curious, I looked at the menu. Fried chicken. God damn it. I was like, "Trey, buddy, do you not see what you're doing?" He'd be busy eating some watermelon and then turn and be like, "What?" What the hell? I gave up. Now, as I said, I'm not racist, but I will say this. I have a sort of underlying fear of black people. I believe it to be somewhat connected to my underlying fear of all people, but who am I to say? Now, no black person has ever hurt me. Nobody's ever wronged me in any unforgivable way, or any way that I can think of for that matter. When I was little, maybe 4 or 5, this is actually one of the very few memories I have from childhood, but anyway. I was out with my mom at Walmart, or Meijer, or one of those sorts of stores, and I, being the little rascally bastard that I was, snuck off for just a moment. And in that brief moment, I saw a tiny stepladder. It was in between 2 aisles, and it was just sitting there all alone. My prey. I stepped forth into it, and I placed my hands on its tiny little handle things as if to say, "Don't worry, baby. I'll be gentle." And then slowly, with the utmost precision that a tiny little 4 or 5-year-old can have, I placed my right foot onto the bottom step. Oh, ecstasy. And then bam, out of nowhere, there she was. A larger black lady, a store worker. She just peered straight into my soul through the adorable little brown eyes that were on my face and didn't say a word. She turned her head slowly from left to right, and I knew. I knew exactly what she meant, and from that day forward, I was a perfect child, living in a cold, empty, terrified shell, afraid to ever do wrong. Since then, I've been slightly afraid of black people, and I absolutely hate stairs and steps. It's just one of those association things. I'm sure you know what I mean. And I can't even stand anything related to stairs or steps or ladders or anything like that for that matter. My least favorite song ever? Stairway to Heaven. I've got 2 reasons for that. First, it's really not that great of a song. I mean, good God, has anything ever been so overrated that it just made it worse than it already was? Second reason, if there actually is a stairway to heaven, and that's how we have to get there, I know I'm gonna climb all those steps, and I'm finally gonna reach the top, and then God will be that black lady, and she'll just turn her head from side to side, and I'll know. Those steps will crumble from beneath my feet, and I'll fall down to hell where I'll be doomed to spend all of eternity burning. And I'll think to myself, I knew I shouldn't have touched that little ladder. Anyway, this has been Green from RNGHOH Productions, and thanks for listening. Good night. If you want to hear any more, let me know.